martes. Mucha gente me está preguntando, abogado, ¿qué está pasando con Trump? ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué significa? So, aquí estoy con gusto a responder a esas preguntas y especificar qué ley yo pienso que la están usando para agarrar este orden. Okay, so primero en inglés, después voy a cambiar en español. All right, first going to do it in English, then over to Spanish. A lot of people are reaching out saying, hey, Ray, what's going on with Trump? Did he get arrested? What's happening? What does all this mean legally? So I wanted to get on here and just do a quick explanation of that. So yesterday, we saw President Trump's Florida residence at Mar-a-Lago. A search warrant was executed. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean they were there to arrest anybody. It doesn't mean there was a raid. It doesn't mean anything like that. A search warrant is a document that investigatory agents, in this case the FBI, have to draft up. They have to meet all the legal requirements, and they present it, in this case, to a federal judge. Sometimes it can be to local judges if we're talking about local criminal issues as well, right? So they present it to this federal judge and say, Judge, here's our writing. Here's the crime that we think occurred. Here's the evidence that we believe will be found on that property, right? And here's why we need to go in and do it without giving them notice. It's a high standard to meet. And in thinking about constitutional law, the biggest protection that we have is in our home, to be free from searches and seizures. And the utmost protection we have is when we're in our own personal little castle, be it an apartment, be it a house, be it a Mar-a-Lago residence. That's when you have the greatest amount of protection from government intrusion. So to get past that strong protection, there must be some very good arguments, a clear-cut crime that was committed and the evidence of it stored at that location in order for a federal judge to sign off on it. So that is what happened, right? FBI presented, and what we now know is investigators previously went to Mar-a-Lago, met with Trump's attorneys, and saw documents that were there. Very good foundation for a search warrant, right, if Trump wasn't allowing them to take them back with them. So they executed the search warrant. They probably did it politically nicely in a way when he wasn't going to be at the residence. Well, I'm sure they had agents surveilling for quite some time, and easy call the Secret Service to find out where he was at. We heard that it was coordinated with Secret Service as well, and they took documents that were marked as classified. Now, what could be a possible punishment for this? Let's see if we can get this up here. The statute that I believe we're talking about, 18 U.S.C. 1924. Whoever being an officer, employee, contractor, or consultant of the United States, right, becomes possessed of documents, that's an interesting phrase there, or materials containing classified information of the United States, knowingly removes, here's where it gets tough, right, knowingly removes such documents or materials without authority and with intent to retain such documents or materials at an unauthorized location, right? Okay, so let's get to the end of it here. Shall be fined, imprisoned not more than 5 years. So when you're looking at the statute, you say, okay, the maximum penalty is 5 years. Do people normally get the maximum if it's their first conviction? Usually not. So, but it is, a serious felony charge that could get up to 5 years in prison. But with that said, you got to look at the statute, right? If you look at it as a defense attorney here, there's different things that have to be proved, which makes me think this is as far as it's going to go. I think they got the documents, they're back in their possession, they're out of Trump's hands. End of story. Again, I'm not advocating for that, obviously. I'm not a huge advocate ever of incarcerating someone, putting them behind bars. Trump, though, you're pushing me on my political leanings there, right? But as far as presenting the case, if I'm an AUSA, an assistant United States attorney, I have to look and say, okay, is there enough evidence that he knowingly removed the documents? Now, what could possible defenses be there? Well, he didn't knowingly remove it. Secret Service removed it. Someone on his staff removed it. Could you see Trump asking somebody else to take the fall for him, right? And then we get to this other prong over here, without authority. What else would they argue? Well, hey, I was the president at the time. I took them with me. You guys should have been the ones that took them back, but I had authority when I took them with me, and with the intent to retain. So was his intention, can we prove his intention was to keep them forever? Or did he have an intention at some point to put them in his presidential library or return them back, right? So there, for me, it looks like a tough case to prove unless he sticks his foot in his mouth, which very possibly could happen, and comes back and says all these things. Yes, I knowingly removed them, and I knew that they were classified documents, and I knew I didn't have the authority to do it, and I intended to keep them forever and ever because I am Donald Trump, right? That would be a factual basis for a plea agreement, and that would be probably enough if that statement got in front of the jury to convict him. Other than that, I think it'd be difficult to make that happen, all right? Questions, comments, concerns, always welcome to drop those down. So I switch to Español, but feel free to ask any questions in English. Tu comunidad estaba preguntando mucho gente, abogado, ¿qué pasó ayer con el presidente Trump? Le dieron una orden para entrar a su casa firmada por un juez federal. El FBI tuvo que presentar evidencia a un juez, evidencia de un crimen y razón para pensar que esta evidencia estaba en la casa para que un juez firma dando permisos que ellos entran en la casa. Recuerda, comunidad, que en su casa, en su departamento, es donde tienen sus derechos más grandes que tiene bajo la Constitución. Entonces, para que el gobierno entre sin su permiso, tiene que presentar mucha evidencia a un juez federal para que ellos firmen permiso de entrar sin el permiso del dueño. Ellos entraron, buscaron documentos secretos que llevó Trump, que dicen clasificados, y él tenía la intención a quedar con ellos. No había un arresto. Es posible que al fin de día pone un cargo de una violación de esta ley 18 USC 1924, diciendo que él sabía que estaba llevando documentos y tenía la intención a quedar con esos documentos. En mi opinión, era una estrategia para agarrar esos documentos porque Trump no quería regresarlos, pero no va a llegar a un caso penal. Puede ser incorrecto, pero estoy viendo el cargo aquí y sí es difícil de probar, ¿verdad? Tenemos que probar que él sabía, llevó los documentos, sabía que no tenía permiso y con la intención a quedar con los documentos. Al fin de día, un caso muy difícil a probar en frente de un jurado. Yo sí pienso que eso va a terminar aquí. Ojalá estoy incorrecto. No me gusta nada que hizo Trump en contra de su comunidad y por nuestro país. Y él merece pagar para no ser presidente de una vez más en el futuro. Pero sí estoy viendo que sí es un caso difícil de probar. Pero al fin el gobierno quería sus documentos para atrás y Trump no quería entregarlos. ¿Okay? So eso es lo que pasó ayer con el presidente Donald Trump. A ver qué pasa y síguenos para más videos sobre ese tema y como siempre los temas de migración, penal y accidentes. Que tienen excelente semana. Nos vemos, comunidad.